That's good.
Yeah,
Good
so
for
we
you.
can just talk. So let me tell you, first of all, I'm thrilled to be meeting with you. You're
Well,
something special.
it's all the connections are like threads and they're wonderful. Weave them all together is what I think. So,
I think so too. So let me just tell you the questions that I put in here, and you can think for a second,
okay.
but it doesn't matter because you know
Okay.
my heart.
Sure.
Well,
Sure.
the first one is I have a group called Pink Lady Posse, and the first question that I'd like to ask you is, what do women need to have a great life?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just look at that, and everybody has a different main answer. The
Mm-hmm.
second one is I want to say how remarkable it is that you've had the success you've had on TikTok and YouTube. And I want to say, how in the world, I'm going to say it like this, how in the world do you get to 485,000 people on TikTok and 3 bazillion on YouTube? And how did that happen? Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I'm going to say, you know, the reason I'm asking that is we have so many entrepreneurs in the Pink Lady Posse that sometimes it just feels like you can't start new and get anything done, which is not true. So I'll
Right.
probably say, well, what do you say to the women that say it's too late in life for me to do anything that significant, you know? And
Well,
then the fourth thing is, how do we navigate the truth of health and the social media
yeah. Yeah.
stuff? And I'll use the example where I saw on TikTok the other day, boys are chewing tennis balls to strengthen their jaws,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the last one, and then I will ask you, how frustrating is it to see money-backed products surface when you know the truth, right?
Oh.
Right? I
Mm-hmm.
know. So that's an automatic. You've got that in your heart.
Yeah.
And for the Pink Lady Posses who really want to take care of their health, you know, what do you recommend? And you were telling me you follow Lee and you do, you know, whatever. So just
Yeah.
kind of conversational, if that's okay.
Yeah. And how long do you think we have? What are you
I don't
trying?
know. How long do you have? I
It
got.
doesn't matter. I mean, I have an hour, but it doesn't matter. I mean,
So I say, let's just start and see where it goes. And if we
okay.
started
Don't
talking,
worry about time and see how. Yeah, sure. Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and pop
All
this
in.
because all of my interviews with what do women need to have a great life are on YouTube
Oh, okay. Cool.
under the Pink Lady Posse. And so your information will be there.
So
And
what age are Pink Lady posses?
well, it says 50 plus, but most of them are 60, 70, and mid 70s, you know,
Okay.
sort of
Okay.
my
Okay.
age.
Yeah. Um, okay. And sort of all races, diversity, everything.
Everything. And but the it's empowerment,
Mm-hmm.
encouragement, and a great
Mm-hmm.
empowerment, connection, and a great life.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's
Okay.
very
Okay.
simple. Let's have a great life.
Yep. No, I'm on that.
Like
Yeah.
that.
I'm with you.
And we have a lot of widows. We have a lot of older
Sure.
people. There's one lady that she hasn't left her house in 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is her only connection to life of any kind.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds cool.
Crazy, huh?
Oh, well, I think so, but I
So
see how it happens. I see how it happens. So,
So I'm going to say, hello, everyone. This is Sandy Parker Martinez with the Pink Lady Posse, and I'm here with someone that I really respect. And I've known Dr. Ellie for some years. And then back when I knew her, she was kind of talking about something. And then my path went this way. And now I see her on TikTok all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's famous. So the first question, though, I want to ask you is what we ask everybody, and that is, Dr. Ellie, what do women need? What do women really need to have a great life?
great to be here, first of all, Sandy. Thank you so much for the invitation. And it has been a long time. We met a long time ago, and a lot has happened. And I think That's one of the things in life. When you get to this point, it is all those experiences and all the connections and all the people you know, and it kind of comes together. And answering your question about what do women need to have a great life, I think connections are one of them. I feel when I'm out of connection with people, it's really hard to get perspective. I think it's our friends and our interests and our, you know, conversations with people that help us pull our minds together. I think one of the things that differs between men and women, I've asked men before now, you know, what are you thinking? And they'll say nothing. You know, you don't believe them, but I think it's really true. I think, as one of my friends said, he has a nothing box, and I don't think I'm ever in a nothing box. I'm always thinking things or imagining things or, you know, concocting things. And when we get together, I think we can iron these out. And it's one of the reasons I love doing podcasts and talking to people like you and answering questions, because then I know what other people, what are other women thinking about teeth, for example, in their heads when they're by themselves. How do they imagine what's going on in their mouth? Is a little pain a reason to rush to the dentist? And I'm here to tell you, no, a little pain may not be that bad. And if you go to the dentist, it may make it worse, actually. So I come here with experience to try to suggest that sharing things amongst trusted friends, sharing information, sharing knowledge, sharing a lot of things that we found worked for us. And if we're professionals, I don't care whether you're in the financial business, or I like to go to people who are like me, who have experience, I'd love to go to a woman financial advisor who's been divorced, been on her own, had to deal with not having much money. So how do you do this thing? Because she's been there, she's felt it, she's been through it. And in a sense, that's, I think, the greatest friendships and companionship and networks we can have is with other women of around our age with knowledge in their fields, and we share it. So I love your idea of the Pink Posse ladies. I think that's so great. And one of my reasons, I think, for being slightly different in dentistry is because I was a woman. I was one of the first women doing dentistry in England back in the 1960s. And they really didn't want us. They didn't want women in dentistry. There was a barrier. We had to have degrees far higher than the men. I have ended up marrying the dental student that sat next to me. He got into dental school with kind of C grades, just about, because he played rugby football. And the medical schools back in the 60s were like college football centers. You know, if you played rugby and you were a 6'4" runner, you got into dental school. Whereas I had been studying at a private girls' school since the age of 10 and specialized in physics, chemistry, and biology, and went to study 6 days a week. We had to go to school on Saturdays. And I decided to do the sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, and Latin at the age of 13, so that I would be able to take these graded, entry level exams into college. And women had to get, 4.0 equivalent one first time. You couldn't retake it. It was a one-time deal.
Golly.
It was golly. And I used to go to sleep at night with a tape recorder, learning chemistry and physics and Latin, and it was agony. But the interesting thing is that all that background came to enrich my understanding of dentistry that could never have been otherwise. So I am now thankful, but at the time it seemed grossly unfair. And that's, I think, why I even came to dentistry with a different idea.
Well, I think one thing when you mentioned connection, one thing that came to my mind is my mind by myself is a scary place.
Yes, we all have it. There's so many things.
I mean, all I have to do is wake up and I have random thoughts that may or may not be useful. But if I start having a conversation with somebody, I can find myself more out here than I
Exactly.
am on my own. And I'm just like, I don't know, random messages. So connection is a great blessing. It's really a lifeline for me. I know a lot of people have heard the story, but after Rodney died, I had a widows group from hospice. And we stayed together on Zoom every Monday and continue to do that for 5 years. We've been together. And
Yeah.
if I didn't show up, they'd come looking for me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that means just a sort of like flying with the net under me. So it
Yes. I
means a lot to
absolutely.
me.
I think so. Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, all right. So here we go with another question. Okay. We have a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm 68. And a lot of us are in the older thing, but a lot of entrepreneurs are going, how do you do it? What do you, and I look at your TikTok and I'm like, you have 485,000 followers on TikTok about dentistry. So please help me understand the path of how that happened.
Well, it didn't happen. It isn't it may look like overnight, but again, when I started dentistry, I began, I chose my path because I was interested in helping people avoid dentistry. I didn't become a dentist because I was like, ooh, money, or any of that stuff. I wanted people to have healthy teeth because I had seen the pain and suffering that my brother had gone through as a child with his bad teeth, and my mother. And in England, in the 50s, it was pretty common as a wedding gift for young couples to be given the gift of dentures so that your teeth were just taken out and taken care of, and that was the end of it. And a lot of people had
Wow.
dentures. My father had all his teeth out entering the military at 35 years old because then they didn't have a problem on the battlefield. There was no tooth decay, there was no gum disease to cause an issue. So
Hmm.
mass extraction of teeth was pretty normal when I was a child. And at dental school, I mean, the cascade of teeth that we treated as students in London was appalling. And the way the lack of interest, the lack of caring disgusted me. People were drilled and overfilled to make money, because they were paid by the surfaces that they covered. So instead of doing 3 surfaces, why not do 5, And they would laugh and call it extension for prevention. It was horrific because once your tooth has been crisscrossed with this giant amalgam filling, the only thing left for it to do is fall apart, maybe 10 years later, but still. And I was just, that wasn't what I wanted to do. And so I left the country and went to work in Switzerland. My first job was in the Alps, in the Swiss Alps, in Lausanne, in Switzerland, near Geneva. And long story, but I ended up in this absolutely fantastic situation. We were paid by the hour. So it didn't matter what you did. This is how dentistry should be organized. You had a good hourly rate. I think back then I was paid like $100 an hour or something, which was phenomenal. But the patients could choose whether they came to see you or who in the practice, kind of like a hairstylist. You might, I know in Austin we have you choose your stylist and pay what they ask. It's sort of
Right.
it's self-determining, and that was kind of how this practice went. And so people were interested in dentists that did. My favorite thing, it sounds awful, but my favorite thing to do was extract teeth because I was able to give painless injections. And I had learned from a brilliant surgeon how to extract teeth without people even knowing that they were taken out. So I would give the anesthetic. I would actually go in there and pretend I was, just testing to make sure they were numb. And I would actually extract the tooth. And then, having it in my hand and out, I would say to them, okay, are you ready for the extraction? And the patients would go, and they'd hold the arm of the chair, and I'd show them the tooth. It was already out. And they would love it. It would be, that's how I got involved later in life with special needs kids and phobic,
Oh,
because if you can give people what they want, they love you. They're not frightened of you. Dentistry isn't terrifying. It's terrifying because you don't want a tooth out. It isn't the dentist who's terrifying, and it's just the way we operate.
Mm.
And I made my practice always, first in Switzerland, and then I transferred it to England. I did what people wanted. I brought in the whole family. I did the same thing. I was paid by the hour. You paid me well for an hour, but you could bring anyone you wanted with you. You could bring your whole family. I had a coffee table and you sat around the table and we'd have the kids in and out of the chair and we'd have the mom and dad. And it's a family disease. So we could talk about it. We could talk about nutrition. We could talk about brushing teeth. We could, explore ways they could make things better. And then the whole family learned. And that they loved that. And if you had a healthy mouth, so all of you, you'd be in and out in half an hour, the entire six of you, in and out, gone. And that was how I did practice. And on a Saturday, I would not use the dental chair, but I would have patients in and I would teach them. I would educate them. We'd have like it was a carousel with a screen, the old
I remember
slideshow,
those.
and I would do a slideshow about why teeth decay, and people would come and they'd be in the office in an environment of education for
Mm.
free. It was free, and that made such a difference because they got to know you as a person, as a caring person, a teacher. And the word doctor actually means teacher. It's so far from drilling and filling. It's about helping people avoid. And what I discovered over those years, my first 10 years or more in private practice, was that I could help people through education avoid, stop, prevent, even reverse. I mean, that was the incredible thing. And my mother was one of my first patients because she was told at 45 years old to have all her teeth taken out. And I didn't want that to happen for her. And I designed this program that I'm still teaching on TikTok and today. So I say this has gone on now for a long time. And the reason I designed it the way I designed it, again, I'm going back to saying it's because I'm a woman. A guy would have been like, oh, how do you mechanically floss and how do you brush? And maybe it's because you're not doing this well enough. It's a little bit of a story, but if you don't mind, I'll tell it
I'd
because,
love to hear it.
when I was at school, at this boarding school that was very high education level, British intensity, I had acne. I had terrible acne all over my face. And it was really embarrassing because at school, people with acne were told we had dirty skin. So all the people with acne went, and at the certain times of day, we would go to the sink, like a 3-bay metal sink. And they would pull out of this bag these horsehair brushes and some ivory soap, and we would scrub our faces, scrub them. And because I thought that was the secret, I would scrub extra hard.
Oh,
And no moisturizer, nothing, just, the calcium water, because we were in the Cotswolds, so high calcium water. My skin was so dry, it would crack and bleed and peel and itch. And I tried not to touch it, but it was so painful. And then these things would come up even worse, and I would scrub even more. And I felt disgusting and dirty and horrible, and had no control. And then one day I was walking through Selfridges, which is a department store in London, and there was a girl in a white coat. It was actually the start of the Clinique counter, the cosmetic people. And this girl, young girl, was like, hey, honey, or, can I, evaluate your skin? And I was like, who wants to look at my skin? And she's like, come. And then she had a little computer type. It was long before computer. We're talking now, the 70s. And she had these little things, evaluation scale thing. And she ended up deciding that I needed 3 lotions. My skin was really sensitive and it needed to have no geranium and this and that. I mean, it was all somewhat scientific, I suppose. And I had these 3 lotions, and by putting on a cleanser, a toner, and a moisturizer, about a week later, my skin was fantastic. It was just that quick. It was that simple. No scrubbing, no screaming, no anything, no pain, no flaking, no bleeding. Just using 3 products that worked in synergy. And I will never forget that. And I didn't know who she was, and I don't know how to thank her, but she
Oh,
changed my life, because the rest of my child, sort of young adult years and early, until wrinkles started, people would actually stop me in the street and go, "Oh, you got such beautiful skin. What do you do?" And I really did nothing. I just did these 3 things. And so here I am in dental practice with my mother with her periodontal disease. And it wasn't a question of trying to floss better or brush better. I tried to normalize her mouth in the same way that this treatment had normalized my skin. And I found a friend of my landlord actually had a pre-rinse before dental treatments. It was supposed to get rid of the bad bacteria in the gums. So I'm thinking, well, that's a really good start. And then found out that it was lots of reasons why it's a really good start before brushing. And then I learned from a friend of mine the best toothpaste, which, he had done research on, and actually makes minerals want to come into your teeth from your own mouth. It's not that it does it, but it stimulates minerals from your own liquids to go into your teeth. So here's the toothpaste. And then, Listerine, although people go, "Oh, Listerine," it's actually got eucalyptus and essential oils that are quite fantastic. And it's none of the stuff that the TikTok people have got all wrong about Listerine. But that was my toner. And then the moisturizer was a very dilute fluoride rinse, which again, you have to break through the wrong information about fluoride. Now, there is some bad fluoride, but this particular one rinsed over your teeth after the Listerine, the whole thing, stunning. It's fantastic. If you have gum disease and you want to get rid of it by yourself, the story would be the same story as I had with my crazy skin, because it balances everything. It doesn't deal with it mechanically. It deals with it on a biologic chemistry level. And so that was the story there. And then, I'm so excited about this after my many years in practice, seeing all these people, not only they never needed treatment, so they love coming. I never had a cancellation. People came on their birthdays because they knew they would get accolades, and, we'd have fun, and kids would get prizes and things. And there was such a happy atmosphere. And, you know, teaching just seemed to be the way. Well, I came to America and I was shocked. I was shocked at the way it was. And I was in pediatric dentistry. And they were screaming at the kids to floss. And the hygienist was saying, "You can't eat sweets." And it's like, no, they can. They're just going to eat it right, And all the misconceptions everywhere, all the time. What is the thing the landmark saying? always everywhere, all the time, or something. This is the problem with dentistry. It's just full of wrong information. And it's brainwashed into people that you have to have the 6 monthly cleanings, and you have to floss, and you have to do these things. No, you don't. I've never flossed a day in my life, because these liquids, and the way I treat my teeth, I don't have plaque. I don't need cleanings because I have perfect teeth. It's only if you have disease that you need all these treatments. And the unfortunate part is, the more treatment you have, the more treatment you need. It's an ongoing process. And if you look at if anyone is in the financial world, financial advisors will always tell you to save up for your medical expenses as you age, right? I mean, they want you to put money away. And dentistry is a big chunk of that for most people, because the expenses aren't getting less. If this system was working, you might have expenses as a teenager or a young adult, but then you'd fly through the next years. But no, we have the other thing. It just is progressive. Your fillings break, they need replacement. Then you've got a dead tooth, then you need a root canal, then you need a crown, then you got gum disease, then the tooth has to be extracted, then you need an implant, then the implant fails, and it's never ending. And I'm saying that, I'm seeing this, and it frustrates me. And I tried to persuade dentists. I tried to persuade cardiologists. I tried to do my teaching in America in the profession, and they were so resistant. I mean, I had a competition with dentists. I had a competition with them. Who's got the healthiest teeth? You guys who floss or me? And I won the competition as an outlier. I mean, I had 98 out of 100% perfect score. Some of those guys had to be rushed to the cardiologist because they had plaque in their carotid arteries, which I believe comes from over flossing and pushing the plaque into your bloodstream. This is something that we have got to look at, because I think we're doing it all wrong. That's my real, genuine belief. And so one day, in my frustration, I got my iPhone. I'm on my deck in some old jacket in the winter, no makeup, gray skies. I mean, not the perfect environment. And I make this video. You can reverse cavities, And I sent it to my daughter. I mean, I have 4 daughters and a son, and they know how frustrated I get. And this guy had been really mean to me, and I just had to kind of yell it out. And my daughter's like, Mom, you want me to post that on TikTok? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know anything about TikTok. What's going to happen if you post it on TikTok? And she said, well, people will be mean to you. I'm like, people are mean to me anyway. I've been pulled off a podium by dentists before now because they don't like me or what I say. And I mean, I've been through the mill here in America for decades. So what's a few more people who don't like me? How bad can it be? And so she posted it. Well, I'm not afraid, and I don't ever think it's too late to get messages across, but it is hard. I mean, they'll tell you, I've been told, and I need some help. I have no eyebrows, and if I'm so good at teeth, why don't I get rid of my wrinkles? And, come on, grandma,
Uh,
and you've got to deal with this if you're going to go out there, and you've got to decide in yourself, do I care? I mean, I process those thoughts and say, I really don't have a lot of eyebrows. Maybe I have to get an eyebrow pencil and learn. And my daughter's like, oh yeah, you've got to go to Sephora or whatever it is. And there's this super gay guy there who will be able to tell you how to do it. And I mean, I'm going to do that. And maybe it'll be an advantage. And
look how dark mine
oh,
look
they
way
look
dark.
great. Yours
I
are
must have put
beautiful.
too
I
much
was going
on.
to say, you look beautiful. But so maybe it'll be helpful, and maybe I can figure out a way to have less wrinkles. And when I do, I'll teach that as well. I mean, it's a learning process, right? I know about teeth, and I know what my process can do to help anybody with adult teeth. And I know it's worked for 50 years for my family, my kids, my grandkids who are now teenagers, everybody. And you ask anyone anywhere in my family and friends and circles. Now, on YouTube, there is a guy who started using my program, probably used the wrong toothbrush. He ended up with staining. Now, he interpreted the staining as bad. It's just dead plaque. He just needs to get a better toothbrush. But he's out there, Dr. Ellie ruined my teeth, and has this picture, which I hope other dentists will go there and say, just get yourself a decent toothbrush, man. I mean, go to the dentist, get a cleaning. Underneath, it's fine. It's just superficial debris because your teeth were so bad before. Don't blame me.
Well,
My teeth.
let me tell you what I'm hearing. Underneath TikTok, posting it, what people say, is a woman who actually really cares.
Yeah,
Right?
it's the
I
truth.
think that's why people are so attracted to you, because you have no agenda. I mean, but to help people. So the whole reciprocity is working because, we talk about what do you have to offer? And what I thought you were going to say back when I said what women need to have a great life is their point of view. Because I see you as a woman with a point of view who's not afraid to say it, who's convinced it's true, and is doing everything she can to communicate what she has to offer.
Because I know that it's more than teeth. If we changed, I mean, my mission, and I'm very clear about this, I've been clear about this since 1972, if we changed the oral health of young women who are pregnant, we'd reduce preterm birth, we'd increase the health of the babies, the families, they'd have less disease, less risk. They wouldn't have any of the need for dentistry throughout their lives. Think about a family of 4 that do that. I mean, I know I've saved $200,000 in my life because I haven't had cleanings, x-rays, sealants, fillings, crowns, bridges, all that stuff. I don't have insurance. I'm sure I have saved $200,000 in my lifetime. And think of a family of 4 doing that today, being confident enough in themselves that they know that their teeth are fine, short of, kayaking and hitting your teeth on a rock or something. I mean, that's what you need dentists for, but you should be able to prevent everything else by yourself with the right strategy. And if we did that for every pregnant woman and their families, think of the savings. You are not going to have all those chronic inflammatory conditions that so many people, I would love to know in your Pink Lady policy, how many of the women have chronic inflammatory conditions that might well be able to be traced back to oral health of some kind.
What would they be? Like, what kind of things would those be?
Risk of stroke is the first one because you can get the buildup of plaque in your carotid arteries. That's one of the things when we had this competition, they're looking in my carotid arteries. They cannot believe, this was when I was 65, they could not believe a woman of 65 doesn't have any plaque in they're like, can we look in your other artery? I'm like, help yourself, when do you want? Because it's not normal. Because I think that it normally plaque gets into your carotid arteries. Now you can get it to go away. Drinking pomegranate juice may be one way of actually, if you think you've got plaque in your carotid arteries, a little pomegranate juice daily can help dissolve those things. So that's what William Lee, my buddy, doctor friend with his Eat to Beat disease, talks about. So you can combine what I say with preventive strategies, with diet, nutrition, lots of good things, exercise, all the normal things. But yeah, it's all about if we could change, or the other things, well, there's arthritis. Definite link between P. gingivalis, which is a gum disease bacteria that can get into your bloodstream, cause arthritis in your body. Yeah.
How have I never heard of it? I mean, I want to hear them all, so I can't stop you now, but I'm
Okay,
just like,
well, one of the things about P. gingivalis is it'll get worse and be more transportable if your toothbrush gets infected with bacteria from toilets. So if your toothbrush is being stored in a small bathroom or a hotel, you travel a lot, it's very easy for the air to become infected with the plume of bacteria from a toilet, and it lands on a toothbrush. And the unfortunate thing is the E. coli bacteria are transporter bacteria that can take your gum disease bacteria into your bloodstream more quickly. You see how it's compounded. It's not just that you have gum disease, it's that you're brushing with a dirty toothbrush, but nobody ever told you how to clean a toothbrush. And I came across this, when I was treating a lot of underserved communities and thinking, why do they have so much gum disease? Because their toilets are right next door to their vanities in ridiculously small bathrooms with no ventilation in these, low-income housing. So what do? Brush your teeth in the kitchen. What's wrong with the kitchen? Why do we have to brush our teeth in the bathroom if it's too small? Tell me. There's no reason. You got running water in the kitchen. Better to do it in the kitchen if your bathroom is next to the toilet. If you're in a camper van, you don't have to brush your teeth in the bathroom. Brush it in the kitchen. If you're off camping in an RV, practical tip, use the kitchen sink for your tooth care. And don't put your toothbrush in a baggie. Let it air dry. If you're, again, camping, put it in the window in the front seat. it needs to dry for 24 hours between uses so that the bad bacteria don't live in a medium where they multiply.
Woo! Okay, there's no end.
No end.
So I'm going to go back to the question. So you hold a camera, you do a TikTok, you put it on there, people are mean, and then people start following you and they start knowing, I'm sure they've never heard any of this before. And so they start accumulating this education that you're actually providing as a generous soul with the skill and knowledge. And so you're a teacher on
Instead
TikTok.
of in my office, which I've done since the 70s, now to an audience worldwide. And you have to still be learning, because how do I help somebody in India? They can't get my stuff. How do I help somebody in Africa, in Somalia, in Ethiopia? They can't get all the liquids that I recommend. Ha ha. Turns out in Africa and in Middle East and these countries, there is a stick from a bush called a toothbrush tree, and they clip the stick, and for thousands of years they have used it to clean their teeth. So years ago, I explored this stick and discovered it has the same ingredients as my system. It has what's in the toothpaste, the silica that is so good for your teeth. It has the essential oils that are in Listerine. It has the fluoride that's in the last rinse I recommend. So these guys can do it all with a stick. It costs a penny in India. They can just get the stick, and it is actually performs as a toothbrush because they fray the end of the stick. You should look it up, a miswak stick, MISWAK stick.
Okay,
And
I'm going to.
I think the biggest TikTok experience recently has been when I started to talk about miswak, and everyone from Africa, Saudi Arabia, everywhere is on this thread, ecstatic, saying, yeah, my grandma used that and my uncle used that. And I remember people using that. But they thought they were being sophisticated and getting in the new world with a battery operated, moldy old toothbrush instead of the fabulous miswak stick that has everything they need. And then you clip the toothbrush off after a day or so, and then you fray a new one. So it always stays clean. It's
Oh my
brilliant.
gosh. Okay, so you got all these people worldwide following you. I'm like, it's like a rabbit hole of questions. Now I'm like, okay, oh, I got this one. Okay, so you're on TikTok, people are following you, and you're doing this prolifically. I mean, you post a lot of things. Now, do you do it all of them on one day and then spread them out,
Well,
or how do you
it's a good
function?
question, because I was doing this and it was fun, and then it got to be not fun. I was busy at work, my daily work, which is this company Zellies, which is a xylitol company where we make mints and gum, because I couldn't get the United States dentistry interested in xylitol, and I knew how incredible it was. And so I quit my job at the University of Rochester. I was faculty and clinic director of the pediatric clinic there, with a nice fat 401k growing. And what I wanted to do was show this pregnant women thing, where if we gave it to pregnant women and we'd reduce the chance of them passing disease and reduce preterm birth, and they would not pay for that study. So I got so mad in 2004. I quit my job. I cashed in what I saw as blood money, the 401k from that establishment. It was like shaking the dust off my feet. And I put it into starting this xylitol business, which is called Ellie's. And, I still work. I'm just beginning to get out of working there, but it has been that's what I've done along with dentistry all these years. I've been really busy trying to make a living. I mean, in America, it's really hard to charge by the hour. So I didn't bother. I just did this as a service to people most of the time. I mean, I really
So
did.
you have the company, you're running a company, you're doing these TikToks, and are you doing them in a batch, or now how do you do it?
I was doing them one at a time as I sort of felt like it, but it got ridiculous. And so one day, by good fortune, I was at the gym and I met a girl who was like, Dr. Ellie, Dr. Ellie, I see you on TikTok. And it turns out that she likes health, alternative health. And she had a couple of clients that she did TikToks with who were, one was in the stem cell world and one was a dentist, actually a dentist. And so she said, would you like me to come and help you do them? And she charges, and initially I was like, I don't think I can afford, because I'm not getting paid anything for TikTok things.
Mhm.
But I decided I would invest in her and see if it was worth it. And oh, she's just a friend of mine now. She's just the most amazing. She'll come in and we'll brainstorm for an hour. And I have all these things like you and I mean, I can go on forever. I got
I
story.
know, I can see.
And so then it's a question of, she's really good at the punchline, and she's got my phone and she's like, and off I go. And if I get too diverted, like you're a really good interviewer, you stop and you bring me back to my, because that's why that's why I need it. Keep it short. Let's do
Yeah.
this. And then she'll edit it for me. And that's so absolutely super. So we can knock out, 10, 12 in a morning without it really affecting my work week. So it's great. And
Now, I'm a part of a lot of technical companies that are all trying to solve this problem. You know how you say, put the word teeth in the comments and I'll send you this, right? Well, when you have 1,000 people commenting the word teeth, it's a full-time job to reply to all those people. So now there are automations and all kind of, in fact, Facebook is about to change their rules, which for all the people that have been using Facebook instead of TikTok, it's about to change where if you're not friends, you can't send a message to them. So
yeah.
now, you can't just go tag 100 mothers and hope they get your message. You have to become friends first. And so it's really becoming a task to manage all that.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about automation. I actually respond. I spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours responding to all the questions. And it's in those responses. It's in, just like I would with my patients in my office. I always connected at their, where is the problem? Because then you get the aha moment. That's how I
Right.
thought about miswax sticks. How do I help these people? There was like another person in the Philippines, another person in Singapore, how do I help these people? And then one day it was a guy from Saudi Arabia or Ethiopia, and I'm like, I know what they got there. And then I started talking to one or two people, and they were like, oh yeah. And then you can help people. I think doctors need to talk to more people.
So
Talk.
back to the entrepreneurs who want, I want to make money, right? I'm 68. I got 30 more years. I don't know how many more years I got to live. And I want a nice business that helps people so I can put it on TikTok or I can put it whatever. But in the back, you have to have a company where somehow money happens. And
Yeah, I'm blessed because I give that to my daughters. I have two daughters. One is a PR, that's what she likes or wants to do. I mean, she's still quite young in it. The other is a more experienced one, and she is taking over the Zellies business, the
right,
actual day of that. But she's also really good at understanding. I mean, these kids have heard this their entire lives.
I'm sure.
They've seen the pain, the suffering, even the divorce because of it, because I wasn't focused on anything but teeth. I mean, this has been my life. And I think they know when you care that much, they feel for you and they want to support me. So I couldn't have a better support team. I've got two daughters who do what they can around the business
Right.
and help me around my teaching. How does that work out? I don't know. It just sort of does by being
Well,
out there.
the good news is there are now companies that help you with automation, responses. One of the things I have a hard time is if people responded, I'm not sure I answered them all. Like, how do you even know if you've answered? So there are people out there to support it, but I think bottom line, you have to be in your lane, doing your thing that you know, and it has to lead to revenue somewhere, unless you just want to be famous. I mean, I guess there's
Well,
dancers.
I don't even, again, that's another thing I would say about me. I don't even want to know how many followers or subscribers or likes or anything. I want nothing to do with the numbers. And that is it just happens. I'm a Christian, and the Bible is a story of David, who had his massive armies and was doing really well. And he started counting how many people were in his army. And all of a sudden the whole thing collapsed. And I think the moral of the story is, when you stop focusing on your primary goal and start worrying about numbers, whether it's money or how many followers or subscribers, you lose the passion for the focus. I only have one focus: to help people have healthier mouths. And if I've got 1,000 subscribers or 300,000 subscribers, it doesn't really matter. It's nice that it's effective, and it's nice I'm helping more people, but I don't need to know about that. So I
Well,
don't pay much attention to that, frankly. I mean,
yeah,
I know it's kind of weird, but I have very strong, and the kids know this. My daughters know this. They don't, hey, mom, we're nearly there. I don't play that game.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, the other thing that is, I think, we talk about the spirit of something. When you're truly generous from the heart, I think people know it.
I do too. I do too. And I think there's nothing beats that. And some of my adversaries, as I suppose you'd say in America, they're male dentists who dislike what I do because it's not what they do. I have a couple of them. I have about 3 of them, in fact, who are really vocal on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. And they will even go as far as to pull up my products, and they get the wrong things, and they go, look, she suggests this. And it's not even the product I suggest. But you know what's so interesting? There are my followers watching those people who say, no, 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 that's not what she suggests. I mean, I have a support group out there vocal enough to tell another dentist they're wrong. And I didn't make that happen, but I
Right.
know why it happens, because why is that person so angry at me? Why not call me up and go, Ellie, is this really the best way of looking after teeth? I mean, I tried calling them, but they don't want to talk to me. So what's the problem there?
Hmm. Okay, so what about the idea of it's too late, I'm too old?
Oh,
You know,
what is what I'd say.
I, but
I
it's so weird. Like, I'm in these tech companies, all the kids are 25 years old. I go, I'm 68. I'm the only older woman in here. But speaking back to my passion, I think older women need to embrace technology, because everything is going to be there. Their health care is going to be there. We can't just sit around and go, I don't like Facebook. I don't like, we can just evaporate while the world gets more and more educated. So I'm about education, but a lot of times I'm by myself in my age group.
Well, I think there was the 10 years older than us. I mean, I'm older than you by 10 years here, but it's that now 80, 90-year olds that were, because I was what? I was like 30 when, no, I was older than that. I was like 40 something when when computers came along. So you were about 30 when computers came
Right.
along, right? So that's not so bad to learn. 40, there were people in my age group that were like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I had I had my kids late, so I think I had to embrace some of that, because we went to school and they were doing a Zoom call or something,
Right.
and I had to learn some stuff. I just think that now we're heading into a new group that were maybe 20 when computers came along. So it's going to be better. They're not going to say when I just think we're in the turnover stage. And I would like to stay with the ones who keep progressing. because that's my personality. I go to the, I'm sure, I don't know if you go to the gym, but I go to the gym and I decided, I really don't know how to do weights. I've never done it and I don't want to hurt myself.
Right.
So I'll pay a woman to help me. And I wanted to get somebody who's good with older people. And one day, there was a girl jumping onto a box. Have you seen those things where they jump up onto a box? Maybe you do it. Do you do
I
it?
do not do it.
Well, I'm looking at it shocked that this girl could actually jump up like that. So a week later, I'm having another of these lessons in weights, and the girl takes me over and says, she brings a box over. And I'm like, my body doesn't know how to do that. But she was great. And she was like, well, you want to try a little slower? And do you know what? I learned. My body had never jumped with 2 feet at the same time. I never jump roped. I never jumped. I've never done it. And it seemed really scary. I mean, felt myself standing there with this tiny little step going, I have no idea what to do. And I had to start the first jump I had to do holding on to something,
Sure.
and then you do it and you go, oh, this is not so bad. And then you build up. And I think that's the same with anything. You set your mind. I went hiking again quite recently, and everybody walked across a log, across a stream. I have never done that in my life. I did it because I was too embarrassed to say I couldn't, but I was terrified. But guess what? I ordered from Amazon a balance beam thing that I now practice. I put it in my bedroom on the floor. It's on the floor beam, but it's only like 2.5 inches wide, and I walk along it every night.
Great for your balance.
Guess what? You get better at it. The more you do it, you get better at it. And I'm only going to fall onto the carpet. I'm not going to hurt myself.
Well, I just had both of my knees replaced this year or within the last 12 months. And but for 20 years I haven't stepped up on a curb because there was no way. And so in my physical therapy, that made fun. She brought over like an 8-inch step.
Yeah.
She goes, step up there, and let's practice. I'm like, I cannot do that. I mean, I want to just inform her.
Yeah.
That's not possible for me.
Yep.
And she said, well, just try it. And I refused. I was like, I don't, So the truth of it is, my knee was fine. My brain was not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I could do it,
We
but
can do
not
so
with my
many things.
brain.
Yeah, we have to tell ourselves we will do it if we want to. And it is that choice that I think is so cool, because nothing wrong with choosing not to. But I find I'm excited by choosing to do.
Well, the day I did it, I got in the car and I called my husband. I said,
I know. It's like it's like a new spark in your life. And it's silly, isn't it? Just for me, it was jumping with 2 feet. I have never done that, but I didn't know I hadn't done it until I was presented with it. And then I looked at it and was like, no, nothing in my body knows how to do that. And I think it's the same, whether it's technology. I don't cook. I went to boarding school and I was never with my parents. I never learned to cook. I've said all my life, I can't cook. Well, guess what? I just bought a children's cooking book and I'm starting to cook.
oh, Dr.
You
Ellie,
know,
that is so precious.
well, because they only have 4 ingredients in each thing. How bad can it get? But I don't start with some fancy French cooking book. You begin, and then you find out that's not that hard. Why did I say I can't cook? I mean, of course you can. Anyone can.
That's
So
so inspirational. Well, I help women design a life they love. And often they don't even know what it is. Like it takes practice to whip up even a wish.
yes.
It's so funny when there's a big lottery, everybody goes, oh, if I win the lottery, I want to go, what about the life lottery where you could wish for something and have it?
Well, and I think that's one of the things too. I'm a big believer in this idea that you create It just, you know, I haven't realized it yet, but I'm trying to create, I don't know if it's a foundation or some sort of mission-based institution of some sort where this thing for pregnant mothers will grow from it. It's the seed is in my head out there as the possibility. And now I'm sure it may take us some years, but if you don't have the seed of possibility out there, you don't. And I think about it every day. I design it every day how it's going to be. It's just got to spark has got to come, and then it'll burn.
That is so beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because you know what? It's right out there. And I believe in conversation. But it's in conversation that someone says that can happen, and that, you know, is sort of the trail of what can be is exciting.
It is. And you see, I think TikTok has a bad rap that, yeah, there are lots of bad things on TikTok, I'm sure. I'm not in that friendship group. So most of the things I ever see are quite interesting. Natural health people, I say I follow stem cell science because I think it's a fascinating, that's how you regrow your gums, is you stimulate stem cells to come and regrow your gum tissue, which is why it works, whereas dentists don't know about this for some reason. So, you know, they will know about it when they can charge for the treatment, I'm sure. But
Right?
but I'm off topic again, but it is the TikTok conversations that I find are helpful. And if I go out there more and more talking about what I want to do, this desire of mine to help pregnant women, I feel somebody who trusts me, who knows somebody who trusts them, and they go, oh, we got a family foundation that can do this or that, and then it'll come together. When they know that you're genuine, that you're doing what you're doing for a reason that's right, it will come. I believe it.
Yeah, I do too.
Don't
I
even
love it. Okay,
doubt.
I think I've lost my way in our conversation. Let's see.
Oh, I think we've done it.
Well, oh, there is one thing that I want to just give you the chance to air your frustration. And that is when you know big money backs things and you see it so widely promoted. And then here you are with something you know to be true. It is real, right? That big money is backing these messages.
I believe so. I believe so because I've just watched so many different facets of that. The people I learned from, you see, science and research is classic. When I was at dental school, the research was done by scientists that were part of your dental group. So your faculty in dental school included scientists who were doing studies to try to prevent decay. I mean, that's what they were really trying to do. They had animals in the lab, and you could go in and see monkeys and things, having teeth. It was dentistry done by scientists, not necessarily dentists. And
Right.
it was really genuine good stuff. I think that's when really good things were happening. Then in dentistry, there was this gap left where everyone got hyped up about looking good. All of a sudden in the 1980s, we had to have white teeth. They had a program on television, the Great Dental Makeover, I think it was, or something.
Oh,
And
yeah, I remember that.
people would go in and they would make all these teeth, fix them all, and they'd come out with these white teeth and a new hairdo and pink, everything was done up. And people got interested in oral health in a different way, in a cosmetic way, a smile makeover, all of that stuff. And it was interesting because that's when I was in America watching this change. And bleaching teeth had always been a no-no for all the years that I had learned. It was dangerous. It was damaging. And then all of a sudden, all of that was blown away because there was money. And start out with, there were a few studies going, no, 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 and then they disappeared. And you go, where did that study go to? Where's it? They vanish. They truly vanish. And I think, I don't know what they do. You probably understand the technology of that better, but you get these sponsored links that come to the top when you're searching for stuff, and they can make you think anything you want. And the most recent study is a classic example. They did a recent study on xylitol. Now, I've been in the xylitol world for 40 years because I know how good it is. I know how amazing it can be for children, for adults, for people suffering with bad teeth, all ages. And in Finland, they've had a public health measure in place now for over 60 years, giving it in preschool, giving it to pregnant mothers. I mean, it's been known in the 4 countries with the top oral health in America all use xylitol, okay?
Right.
America comes in like 10 on this list. So Denmark, Finland, Germany, and Sweden, I think, are the 4 top ones. America's down there at 10. Well, they did a study at the Cleveland Clinic, June the 6th, I think it was. And when the study came out, 2 hours after they published it, we got notified because of my xylitol business. We always get notified if there's something we need to know about xylitol. Within 2 hours, this study had been broadcast to ABC, NBC, CBS, all of these broadcasts, even abroad. And the study couldn't be accessed. We couldn't get it. We had to go pay $45. It was behind the paywall to actually access the study, which of course we did because we need to know what is really going on.
Right.
And the Cleveland Clinic had put out this article. It was very confusing, very difficult to interpret. And the study's really difficult to interpret. And the media news that evening is promoting that xylitol causes heart attacks, thrombosis risk from xylitol. I mean, scary stuff. I'm like, this isn't possible. This is not possible. What's going on? I've been in the xylitol world for 40 years. I eat it, have eaten it every day. My mother ate it every day for 50 years. There is no way this is true. My mother was the healthiest person. I've never had a sick day, except for 2 days of COVID. I mean, it's not possible, is how I'm saying. And then I started looking at the study. Well, what did they do? They took 10 of about the sickest people you could find. 75% had had a heart attack. 75% were diabetic. 75% had plaque, blockage in their carotid arteries, and they had high blood pressure, and they had probably digestive issues. And I mean, they had so many medical complications not accounted for. That's the first thing. The group they're looking at, these 10 people were sickest of the sick in a clinic for heart problems. They give these people, they fast them, so they haven't been eating, and then they give them a huge dose of xylitol. 30 grams. That's like eating 60 of my mints, like chugging a half a bottle. Nobody does that. And what's more, xylitol doesn't dissolve very quickly. So to get them to drink that, they would have had to heat up the liquid and then cool it down. I mean, they had to go to a lot of trouble. They didn't just dissolve it, oh, let's put this in a drink. They made that drink. And then they gave it to these people. Then they took blood, and they call it a in vivo study. In other words, a live study, which has more weight. But what they actually did was take the blood and put it in a Petri dish and add stuff to it. So it wasn't really a live study. It was live blood, but in a lab setting with stuff added to it, which is, again, very different from the body.
Right.
And all they saw was that the platelets, which are the little cells that cause clotting, or if you've got a wound, it stops it bleeding, those guys got very active. That's all. They saw activity, healing activity in a healthy person, but if you're at risk for heart attack, I guess there's some possibility, because that's how these clots form, is the platelets clump together. But let's call it what it is. They just saw activity, nothing else. It's like when you see a fire, you see firemen active around the scene. Does that mean that the fires are caused by firemen? Or when you have a fire, you have fireman activity?
Right.
It's the interpretation of these things that's so messed up. And then to give it to the media, because if the media had reported it, even the study, they would have said, after drinking a huge dose of xylitol, which nobody does because you can't dissolve it, after fasting, which nobody does because the reason you have xylitol is at the end of a meal, and when you're really, really, really sick from a whole bunch of other things, then your platelets get really active. And we think it may be a risk. That's what the study showed. They don't even know it's a risk. It's as much a risk that firemen start fires as we know that doesn't really happen. But you don't know unless you know more, that they weren't there at the beginning. So we don't know anything from this stupid study. It was funded by private equity. It was funded by a guy who works for Procter & Gamble and Pfizer. But the media have all taken that, and now there are people out there too terrified to eat xylitol.
Oh,
Now, I mean, this is my field. This is what I've done for 40 years. Actually, this is what I've known for more than 40 years. So how truthful was that study that I know about? They weren't not truthful, but the way they presented it and the way the media reported it and what people picked up from it, so messed up as to be garbage.
well, I don't know if I mentioned it in this conversation, but I saw on TikTok those boys chewing tennis balls to strengthen their jaws because they want to have a movie star jaw. I'm like, how long is that going to last before somebody says, dude, it's not
Oh, they
working?
make chewing gum now, really, really tough chewing gum with the same thing. Well, everything has a, it's like tooth whitening. You'll get white teeth, but you'll have weaker ones. When you do that to your jaw, it
Are we just living in a crazy world?
is a
So
crazy world.
I want to say, I learned so much from you. I knew I would because I already have, right? By watching you on TikTok, I can tell this is a woman with a message who's speaking her message. I want to be like that, right? I want to grow up educated and mentally alert and in learning and changing and growing. And my daughter yesterday, I said, I'm such a tech geek about all these CRMs. And she goes, Mom, it's keeping your brain active.
Yeah,
My brain is so alert. I mean,
yeah.
okay, granted, nobody wants to study CRMs. That's my thing. But I love, love, love the information. So,
I think the ongoing learning is what I have to keep learning. As I said, I learn from talking with people. I learn from finding out what people need and find out what people find works for them. And I think, again, the other thing that used to tend to happen to older people, I'm not sure it does today, but they get in a rut. They eat the same things at the same time in the same way at the same place and the same, the 6 o'clock dinner uh, and I feel that those ruts are not as helpful as we think they are. I think having the ability to embrace, what do I know about oil pulling? Why would it be good? Why would it be bad? Let's think about it. Let's talk about it.
mhm.
Not that, no, it's not what I do, or it's odd, or, you
Well,
know.
you are a living witness to what I want people to have, and that is
It'll be when you
a
grow
great
up.
life. Like I realized when I lost my husband, who wanted to live so much, that if I wake up today and I get to live and I don't, shame on me. Like all I had to do this morning was wake up and take a breath.
Yeah.
So
True, and I think we have opportunities, and we so often talk ourselves out of them. And I think share your opportunities with motivated people like you. I mean, maybe that's a business there. Have a business where I can call you when I lose my motivation, and you talk to me about what is it I mean, Landmark is almost that, right? It's a way of keeping your motivation, your reason to be alive.
well, I know you're busy. I know what it took to get this on the calendar, and I want to thank you, thank you, thank you for being my guest and being with me. And I'm going to chop this up and make it go as far as it can to
Wow,
affect someone.
fantastic. And I'll come to you for my technological help.
You do that.
I
Although
will.
your daughters are probably the age group where they're right on the ball. So I wouldn't worry
Well,
about that.
yeah, I think it's good if I can go there showing what I know. I like that too. So,
Thank you so much.
thank you, Sandy. It was wonderful. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.